got some like flavor, you know.
Are you gonna write all those? Because I already wrote the lick for the normal.
That's all it's gonna be.
soft
I'm not
rock.
writing all the others. It'd be like, "Be Scotch die," or like whatever. You know, you get someone who's actually a good
straight
voice.
up deep south.
Yeah.
Be Scotch dots. God, we were riffing really
I was
hard.
about to say something really bad. I'm so glad I didn't. Man, my brain went to a dark place.
Wow. Okay.
You just stare off in the distance, and you're like, "Yep, that needs to die there too."
Be Scotch and Dodge. Did he kidnap that dog or does he own it? Like,
It was worse.
I'm sure. Move me and touch me until I get my satisfaction. All right, time.
Clink, clank.
Clink, clank, clunk.
Clink, clink,
Hello
clink,
and
clank.
welcome to the Strange Happy Hour. That's right, we're back. Two of us back.
We were
I was
just
here
in
the
the
whole time.
bathroom for like a week.
I know, we were together in the bathroom. I am one of your hosts, Brent the Jester Head
ready just for this
Metcalf,
episode.
alongside the myth, the man. No, I'm just kidding. The one who is missing as well, the dispatcher,
The missing
Mark
one.
Clover.
and on our right, the man who held it down all on his lonesome,
Handsome John.
Handsome John. In
good
case
help.
this is your first time stumbling across us, we come together every week to talk to you about nerdy video game and tech news. But before we get there, we need to discuss our important guest of the week. Talk to us, dispatcher. What you got?
So, I was gone last week in the Caribbean. I decided I took a cruise vacation with my mother to St. Martin, St. Kitts, San Juan, Puerto Rico, and Grand
Hello.
Turk. So I
I didn't know you
decided
could fit that in
to.
the bathroom.
I decided, oh, yeah. I mean, it's a heck of a cruise. You know, there's a lot of island. You know what? That was going to go in a weird place.
you just need to stop.
So I decided while I was in San Martin, I was going to pick up some wonderful toppers from.
Why are you doing that? It's coconut rum. It's coconut rum is what it is.
It's spelled RHUM, but it's a like the bottle's handmade and all that stuff.
That's
whatever.
awesome.
So it's like a local brand anyway. Wonderful coconut rum anyway. So we're having a Malibu Bay Breeze, which is a mixture of cranberry juice, pineapple juice, equal parts, and then 2/3 part of the coconut rum.
Oh, yeah.
It is super, super intense on the coconut flavor, which I love about it.
Very good. Very good. I enjoy it quite a bit. I like the tartness
sharing.
along with the coconut.
Yeah. It was hard to find that balance of like sweet and tart because like this is super sweet as it
Yeah.
is,
Yes.
and then
Level's
I had
high.
to like find the right level of tart with the cranberry juice. So.
I think you did well because I don't particularly like super sugary drinks, and so
Yeah.
this is a nice balance. That was wonderful and very important. But there are things that are far more important, and they are
The
important. I just liked just saying the word important over and over again. And we totally did not go over in order, so I'm just going to fly off the seat of my pants. Johnny Petit. John Pettit talked to us about GameStop and their new
Petit.
refund policy.
See, we talked about this beforehand with the refund policy and what we thought was right, not right. You know, it's everybody's got an opinion. Well, now GameStop has one. Apparently, they got a 48-hour guaranteed to love it promotion going on right now.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah, pros and cons with it.
Okay.
I like the fact that it's going to get people's attention, and they're going to be like, "Hey, you know, I get my physical medium and be happy."
Can we explain what the refund policy
Yeah,
is?
I'm going to. Damn it. Now my thumb is.
It's just really confusing because nobody knows what we're talking
Well,
about.
I mean, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. After 48 hours, you could replace you can get your refund for the game regardless if you love it or not. It's why it's
Full
called
price, though.
guaranteed to love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, in-store price.
Yeah.
So the good thing is that you don't have to worry about digital sales. If you don't want to, you can get your physical medium and be able to switch it out. Now, the problem with them is that I find for them is that they're going to have the people who just crush games.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
you have 15-hour games that can be beaten well within the 48-hour limit, and then they're just going to return it, and they're going to lose out pretty heavily on those. And
Yeah.
I don't know. That's where I'm just like, I don't understand this particular level of the policy, but it starts with Days Gone, which is a pretty long-ended game.
Yeah.
It's not going to be able to be beaten within 48 hours, not realistically. So I think they'll be safe on that bet, but I think that you're going to start seeing them selectively choose which games are going to be under the guaranteed policy.
And I was just thinking about that because we were talking before the show what I'm kind of looking forward to playing, and one of those games is called Plague's Tale, and it looks to be a very linear, very small, but nice, high-quality production, narrative-driven third-person adventure game. I guarantee that game's no more than 12 hours. That game will not be part of this policy.
Yeah, no way.
They're going to lose. They're going to learn their lesson really quickly.
Yeah.
If not.
Yeah, no kidding.
So unfortunately, that is the crux of it. But we'll find out what happens a little bit more here soon once they initiate the policy.
They're in a weird space because we have digital outlets that seemingly are becoming more open to refund policies. Sony just redid theirs where they're allowing for a 14-day policy, give it or take. Steam has a similar policy. I believe Microsoft does as well.
It's without downloads for PlayStation, right? Like you haven't downloaded the game or something?
I can't remember what the stipulation actually was.
There was like
There was
someone else said,
something to
"Oh,
it.
the Steam policy was a lot better." Now I don't remember what
Steam's is only a couple of hours.
Yeah.
couple of hours.
Like it's like 2 or 4 hours or something like that, and you can play the game and you can return it at any point in that time frame. And literally all it does is just removes it from your library. Now, the funny part is the game is still installed. You just can't launch it.
Yeah,
That's funny. So I think it's interesting 48 hours is such a short time frame, which helps protect them. But also, when you're talking about the grand scheme of things, it also feels like it's a very hard to compare. But we'll see what they can do about it.
Yeah, I'm going to be really interested, especially after their last year's losses. They can't really have too many more screw ups.
Speaking of a great loss,
Yeah.
we all know what happened to Notre Dame, but it seems like the Assassins are coming to help.
Yeah. So Assassin's Creed Unity was actually a game that was set in the French Revolution. And because of that, Notre Dame was in it. And
Interesting.
A woman named Caroline Muse decided to spend 2 years of scanning meticulously this entire building, brick by brick. She said like they were legitimately getting everything right.
Good Lord.
So with this 3D technology that they took, they can, if they so choose to use it, to help rebuild parts of Notre Dame that they might not have actually had scans of. Or
That's amazing.
yes, really freaking cool. And not only that, but Ubisoft is also, according to Kotaku, donating 500,000 euros, that is $564,000 US, to and a fundraiser to rebuild Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Which by last Wednesday was at $1 billion.
Yeah.
That's a billion with a B.
All I have to say is that we've said it before in this podcast. Video games are saving the world.
Damn right.
I would love to hear other instances of, I mean, Ubisoft seems to be the go-to simply because they are building games that are set in these historical time periods. They're going after trying to get the historical accuracy. We see them diving further and further into the past where it becomes a little bit more difficult to do so. But if they were to either use some more of the information that they have with older titles or even take newer titles and do the similar process, I would love for them to start archiving this stuff and almost leave it open as an educational tool. We saw a little bit of that in Origins where they had like a completely separate version that was educational. I mean, they really are building out this kind of infrastructure where they could probably pull it off and also make video games, which is crazy.
The Ubisoft stated that Notre Dame was really important to them, and it obviously is very important to French culture because of how much money they raise so fast. They said within about 5 years they'll have it restored.
Yeah, I mean, they are a French company, so it does make sense to me.
Yep.
Moving on to your final update, Sean.
Oh, you
Sorry.
spent too much time in
Too
Canada.
much time in Canada. Talk to us about the Switch.
So the Switch has an update coming out, 8.0.0, the big one. So right now, you are able to now transfer saved data and change your sorting gaming list, which is honestly my biggest pet
God,
peeve.
yes.
Oh my goodness.
Is
All
it
right.
just me that thinks that this is basic stuff that should
Yes,
have been there
100%.
from day one?
You are not wrong.
We had this discussion. It's like, why can't you? Okay,
Yeah.
we'll get there.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Just making sure I'm not the only one.
you'll be able to sort your home screen, your gaming list that pops up front, either via by publisher, alphabetical, time played, last played, in order, like things that make sense, right? However you play your games, you're going to want to keep it in that order.
Right.
Transfers are allowed, but it deletes it from the original source in order to be transferred. And we talked about this, and it was because they have, they want to keep everything in their wheelhouse. They don't.
Yeah.
But it makes more sense to me that you're going to want to transfer. Just because they have the new Switch coming out, it makes sense that you're going to want to go back and forth. Why not make it easier?
I mean, not only that, when the Switch first came out, we have plenty of friends who either picked up our own or picked up a friend's and they wanted to try a game, dove into Breath of the Wild, put in 10 hours because they were at our house over the weekend, and now it's stuck. So if they ever got a brand new Switch, they would have to start brand new, or be forced to buy the $20 a year program to upload to the cloud.
Yeah.
Now they can just transfer it over and it deletes it. That's perfect. I think it's great.
Yeah.
I think it's wonderful.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I'm excited for it. The new with the new systems coming out, and we just still don't know if they're gonna have. Well, we kind of know that they're gonna be a high end and a low end. I guess we're
Maybe.
assuming.
Yeah.
So, but hopefully it's more portable, so that makes actually more sense why they're doing this.
Yeah.
And it kind of frustrates me a little bit because I wish they would have done it just for the sake of the people that already had the Switch to begin with, not for their benefit.
I
to
agree.
sell more.
But hey, what can you do?
Not much.
Speaking of the N-Dog Nintendo, Reggie on his last day in office opened a Twitter account. And this is kind of a weird news story. It's not really like very much to talk about. It's more visual. So we'll have it in the description above us. His
Below.
Twitter account, as well as you can go find him. It's literally at Reggie, which I thought was great. Reggie Fils-Aimé, in case you didn't know, was Nintendo of America's president up until this past week. He has left office, but as he was walking out the door, he decided to open up a Twitter account and then took a bunch of pictures of his office. Like he has a giant Master Sword stuck in a stone in his office that he left behind. A bunch of amiibos, other different pieces of paraphernalia. What was it? Oh, he had his Mii head because they came onto stage and showed the Miis at E3. So he has a giant foam head that he wore out on stage that is now in the Nintendo archives. Nintendo has a vast archive of all of their paraphernalia from these things.
Sure.
So
Interesting.
And then the same day, Doug Bowser, who is replacing him, also has his Twitter account open, which of course has Bowser on the shelf behind him. It's really cool.
That's awesome.
It's really cool. But Reggie's a great character to follow. The other interesting thing I thought was kind of cool is on his final day, he got a bunch of gifts, including an amiibo of Satoru Iwata that goes along with his amiibo. So it's both of them as their Miis in amiibo form that he could take with them. And then he had an image from Rare Studios, which Rare used to make Banjo-Kazooie and all these other games. They're now owned by Microsoft, but they hand drew all these Nintendo character artwork for all the games they had worked on before. Is it Rare or Retro? It might have been Retro, which has people from Rare. Either one of those two. I'm pretty sure it's Retro now. I'm losing myself here. But the image was shown with a statue in front of it. So it shows Samus, it shows Banjo, and like all these other characters. But there's one character that you can kind of only see a portion of that doesn't look familiar. Like people are like, that looks like a hand, but we don't know who that is. So it's like Rare was kind of using Reggie to hide a character reveal there. I was like, what a great way to walk out of office. So
There you go.
very cool. Moving on, Netflix has decided they're going to start testing a random function. So on Android, I'm not sure if it's global. I think it's just to certain markets right now.
Yeah.
You will now be able to go through and find a random stream where they will have shows where you get to select it and it picks a random episode for you to watch, which is super interesting because one, completely out of context for half of this stuff, like when
Yeah.
you're watching it. But how often are you like, I have no idea what I want to watch, and you're just like, boom, because the first episode is always set up. You're not really sure if you're going to want to get into it, and you're like, okay, well, boom, this may be out of context, but it also might be interesting. I thought it was kind of nice.
Stumble upon for Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, like I would only do that for certain shows like Office and stuff like that for when I'm bored and I just want to get that craving feeling.
Honestly, I'd almost want to do it just to see what kind of clips like Netflix would actually just put, I guess, into this shuffle thing, or
Yeah.
if it's truly a random thing, but literally just to hit the button. But I want to almost do it for every show.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just like I want to see what this takes me to today.
I feel like
Because
for
I
some-
might discover a brand new series I never knew about.
Yeah, but like dramas, they would spoil so much. It's like, oh, they keep talking about this dude being dead, and then you go start, and you're like, oh my god, he's dead.
I definitely think it will depend on your personality. Spoilers for me are very specific because I don't particularly care about spoilers until I get into something, and then I care very deeply.
But if they curate this list anyway, it actually could be fantastic.
Not only that, I think that there's so many shows on Netflix, like you're talking about, like Friends, The Office, like all these shows that I adore. That I'm just like, I don't really know where to begin. You just bam, okay, cool. I'm watching this episode of The Office now.
Now is the randomization going to be like towards a show or just in general?
You
the
will
whole
pick
thing?
a show and go hit random on that.
Okay, that's
So
cool.
I thought that was really cool. Right now it's
Kind
only
of like
on.
I'm feeling lucky on Google.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right now, it's only on certain Android markets. Eventually, they're testing it and they're going to roll it out to all platforms. So,
I'm intrigued.
moving on to the final piece that I have for today, the creator of Lupin the Third has passed away. If you do not know who Lupin the Third is, that's probably not crazy surprising. It is an anime character. Manga character specifically. The creator's name I will pull up, but he went by the pen name Monkey Punch,
Monkey
which
Punch.
I love to death so much. has been
grab
around
it here.
since the 1960s. His name was, I want to pull up his name first before you do.
Breaks his
Kazuhiko Kato.
Yeah.
He released the first real manga in the 1960s. 1967 is when he was known as Lupin III and has been around ever since. Lupin III not only made it past the manga, but into a various anime series. They actually recently revived it on Funimation. Anybody who knows Studio Ghibli, Hayao Miyazaki's first animated film was actually Lupin III, the movie. So it has a touchstone for Japanese creators for sure, and is a special place in my heart. So just wanted to kind of touch on that. He was 81, so it was, lived a life, definitely enjoyed it, but sad to lose a creative mind nonetheless.
Yeah. Lupin the Third was like, what, the 60s or 70s?
It was 67.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it was definitely out there.
I
So.
remember watching it the first time, and I was like, wow, this feels super old. Oh, it is. Okay.
Moving on to a different type of creator, content creators. Mark, talk to us about Instagram's update.
I was going to go a different route with that, but
I
actually
know.
worked.
I gotcha.
I was going to say what isn't quite dead yet and go to a different topic, but we'll get there.
What made dead may never die.
On the note of social network, Instagram is working out a change that it's got a kind of a behind the scenes influence that you actually wouldn't think about from an Instagram influencer perspective. So right now, everybody can, whenever you like something, you see the counter kind of increment, that kind of thing. Instagram's working on a change that would actually hide the like count so that your followers, your consumers, don't focus on the number of likes that are on the particular piece of content that you're sharing necessarily.
That's cool.
Because the thing is, a lot of your consumers actually will focus more on the number of likes rather than what the content is.
Yeah.
Like that's all they care about, and they want to comment on whatever the next post is, that has the most amount of likes or has the least amount of likes or something like that so that they can try to get seen or whatever it is, by the content creators. But the content creators actually kind of like this because one of the things that gets them financed or paid anyway, like for being an influencer and being a content creator on Instagram in particular is sharing, interesting content, that kind of thing. But it is based on the number of likes and number of followers that they have. Now, the one thing that they were saying, or one of the content creators was saying specifically, is that a lot of companies don't actually pay attention to what the followership is or what the actual impact is of a particular Instagram account.
Yeah.
They just see the number of followers, which could be artificial, and they don't actually pay attention to, how many likes they have on each of the posts, that kind of thing.
Because that's be artificial.
Because automating that's actually really simple to get, like, to farm like a bunch of Instagram accounts anyway that come to you and follow your account. You just accept them all, and suddenly you've got 100,000 followers.
Yeah, but I said they have companies that literally do that. You pay them, and they're like, "Oh yeah, here's 100,000."
Yep. And there are companies that just don't pay enough attention to the actual impact that the Instagram account has. They just see, tons of content, cool, bunch of followers. Yep, we'll pay you for this advertisement.
Gotcha.
But the problem is that means that actual content creators miss out because they've actually spent the time to gain a following, to have an influence, and that kind of thing, and they lose out because of it. So this would actually require these advertisement companies to go directly to the account holders and ask them, okay, can you send us screenshots of this or that or whatever else, to try to show or to find which companies are much more focused on who actually has impact.
Yeah.
Who's actually serious whenever they come to, try to advertise or to try to find the content that they want to publish with.
I find it interesting that their goal is to try and, I guess, shore up that market space and make sure that everyone's on the same page.
So I don't know if that's necessarily the goal. Instagram hasn't actually said what the reasoning is behind it.
Okay.
But a lot of people are kind of speculating to say that, you know what, this actually isn't necessarily a bad thing. Like a lot of people would look at it as, well, that's kind of odd that literally the only thing it does is remove the number of likes that are on there.
Yeah.
You still see, this friend and others like this page.
Yeah.
Or like this,
I think it
this
sounds
picture.
like more like a social.
Experiment?
Yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah.
But a
Well,
lot
you
of
think about it, like you're trying to see what the individual will do, in not only as an individual setting, but also in a group setting. So.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea to see. I want to see how it plays out. Because it seems like the account holders, the content creators are actually behind this. Mm-hmm. They actually approve of this and think that it's a good way to go.
I hope you keep your ear to the ground on this and see what they come up with. If they ever talk about it again and why they did it, that would be really cool.
Yeah, I agree. Moving on to another, you would be social media giant.
Well, I guess touching back on something that we had talked about back in November specifically, Google's walkout. The organizers, two of the organizers, have faced retaliation within the company.
Huh.
So there were a total of 7 organizers. 2 in particular. I need to bring up names, and I want to bring up like the quotes anyway, because they actually sent emails out about this.
It's like they were waited long enough for it to be okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Now that nobody's talking about it. Huh.
Yeah, no kidding. Let me see.
Funny how that operates.
Isn't that, well, I don't know how the rules work when you're talking about staging a walkout against a company in retaliation. I imagine that a company's not allowed to retaliate on you for speaking your mind against them.
Well, technically, that would be the same thing. They're walking out because they're speaking their
No,
mind.
exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Is like I feel like they should be protected by some sort of legal status.
But
so the question is whether or not defiance is something that can be protected, because technically it's like they're. I mean, maybe that's
it's too late for defiance.
Well, but they could spin that to they could spin it to say, okay, this is how we explain to HR that or this is how we expressed our distaste for how Google handled a lot of the PR nightmares. So the 2 names, Meredith Whittaker and Claire Stapleton, 2 of the organizers of the walkout. Meredith Whittaker, I'm gonna read this off anyway, just so I can get everything correct here. Who leads Google's open research, said that after Google disbanded its external AI ethics council, was told that her role would be changed dramatically. Said she was told in order to stay at the company, she would have to abandon her work at AI ethics, and her role at AI Now Institute, which is the research foundation that Google or that she co-founded under Google.
Okay.
That she would have to leave both of those roles to stay at Google.
Why? They didn't
Seemingly
explain
no
it?
reason. Like it was
So
another
they-
assignment for her. Like it was kind of a
They were moving her where they wanted her to be.
right. Now
Out of leadership roles, basically.
I do want to question this a little bit to see how much of this is taken out of context.
Yeah. Well, for right now we have
Yeah.
the 2 of them coming out saying this,
Now,
which is important, but we also need a little bit of something.
Perspective.
Yeah.
Meredith is one case, but Claire, on the other hand, Claire Stapleton is a different case. On the other hand, anyway, 2 months after the protest, Claire Stapleton was told she would be demoted from her role as marketing manager at YouTube.
So she was directly told because of this?
2 months. Like, no, so they literally cannot say this is why, because
2 months
that's
after they
2
said,
months after it happened, like almost right away after it happened. Lose half her reports, I guess, as far as the marketing manager is concerned, or as the role's concerned. She escalated the issue to human resources and said she faced further retaliation. Quote, "My manager started ignoring me. My work was given to other people, and I was told to go on medical leave even though I'm not sick."
What the hell?
While my work has been restored, the environment remains hostile, and consider quitting nearly every day.
Wow.
Yep.
She said like her manager essentially was coming after her after she reported to HR that she was facing retaliation, and then got more retaliation as a result.
Yeah, I would definitely have spoke up about that.
So my thing here is Meredith Whittaker's one case anyway where she was dropped anyway. She seems like she was almost in a position that was dropped, but she just kind of got snowballed into this. But Claire
Stapleton.
on the other hand, Stapleton,
Yeah.
definitely seems like she's facing retaliation, just from the way that she explains it anyway.
It's going to be pushed down to the lower management and blamed on them, but I think we know where it comes from.
Yeah.
So Google immediately, of course, puts out a
Statement.
Yes, a statement against this anyway.
we're good.
We prohibit retaliation in the workplace and investigate all allegations. This is a quote. Employees and teams are regularly and commonly given new assignments or reorganized to keep pace with evolving business needs. There has been no retaliation here.
See, and that's my point
Now-
too. Is like it's just like maybe the first girl you said. What was her name?
Meredith Whittaker.
Yeah.
Meredith Whittaker. It seems like she was just reorged and didn't like that. She liked her position, and then of course they're not going to put her into a position of power
Yeah.
because she's.
Because her letter out doesn't specify time frame.
It is really interesting. I
Oh, I'm
agree.
sorry, April 4th. Actually, they do. April 4th is whenever the AI Ethics Council was disbanded.
I do agree that more perspective is needed, but from the information given, it does seem very much like they're like, we don't want you around, which is a reminder, kids, these big corporations, as much as we enjoy their products, are not your friends.
No. They're
not.
Don't
They're there
think
to
that they
make money.
are.
You
But at
are
the same time,
you are a
it's all
dollar sign to them.
circumstantial.
It is circumstantial. You
Now,
are. Yeah, it's true.
The second woman, I totally believe that, what was going on with her, do her direct management.
Yeah, I mean the fact that her direct manager is essentially giving, or is participating in the retaliation here.
Yeah.
You're making it a little bit more apparent.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a wee bit.
He opened up the door, but, you're going to have trouble trying to figure out how far up it goes the chain, though.
Moving on, Marcus,
Can I get a refill?
to your final topic. You get a refill when the topics are done.
Man.
Moving up the chain, I guess. Moving up the chain.
Before he throws a fit.
Moving up the chain of history. Game Boy,
Ooh, I like those words.
the original Game Boy.
Sega.
Somebody wrote a
Oh, wrong system. Sorry, I'm a fake gamer boy.
Chris Maltby is a developer who last week released code for an application or a program called Game Boy Studio that allows you to create old school Game Boy games, create ROM files with them, and actually play those games.
I'm going home and downloading this because I didn't know this was a thing, and I'm so excited.
You know what? Something else that's a thing that I didn't even know existed. I really should have known.
Yeah,
Is a USB based cartridge.
yeah. So you can just plug it in.
For Game Boy, so you can actually plug it in. His software will write to the cartridge,
you can play
and
it
you can
on a
pop
Game
it
Boy.
in a no kidding Game Boy and play the game on a Game
That's
Boy.
awesome.
Yeah. That is super dope.
Yeah. It lets
And
users create 2D mini games without any programming, any of that
that's
stuff.
the key. You don't have to program to work on this application. It just takes in sprites. You can go to freegamesart.org is a site that has 2D art. They even, if you search Game Boy, you'll find Game Boy sprites. You can do this now. There is no programming necessary, and you can go build Game Boy games. Have fun. This is great.
Yeah.
I love this.
No, I'm super excited for this. So the other side of this too is, well, any of the games that you build can also have HTML5 versions, so you can play them on web, you can play them on mobile.
That's
Yeah.
so
It
cool.
uses Electron, which means you can create desktop apps, mobile applications, you can put them on a Game Boy, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
It's too cool.
The fact that somebody was able to create this in the community is amazing, and I love seeing what you guys do.
Yeah,
I really do.
Absolutely. Very excited about this. So that is a topic we'll come back to after we finish the rest of the show. But until then, that has been the important. Please, for the love of God, Mark, refill this thirsty team.
Okay.
We got to move on to the topic of the show, which is a very important topic of the show this week because we get a pizza next week.
That's right, buddy.
I unfortunately was in Canada
We
for
each
work.
get a pizza.
Everybody gets a pizza. I was in Canada for work, so I did not get to organize this very well because this episode would have been the perfect episode to do so. However,
Yeah.
next week, one Dylan Sinat will be paying
Rest in peace.
what he owes because Sony has released the information on the PlayStation 5. Not all the information, but some of the information.
Some important specs.
Some important specs for sure.
Important shit.
And I'm so glad we have our tech geeks here to tell me what all this means.
Exactly. Mark Cerny did a wonderful piece with Wired Magazine to discuss what the PlayStation 5 is, the fact that it's being built, the fact that it will not be out until 2020, which is the important part of the bet, as well as gave us a few pieces of insight into what this console is going to be. Not a whole lot, but enough. And I wanted to talk about it because A, PlayStation fanboys here. B, we've already know Microsoft's going with the cloud. We see Google Stadia coming up. Nintendo's very happy with the Switch. So Sony's been the big question mark, and we finally have some morsels that we get to discuss.
No, they've also dipped their toes in the streaming service too.
True.
They're going to get heavier into it, I'm sure, as time goes on. But
Yeah.
I mean, Xbox obviously the leadership on that, and Google.
So I definitely like this tweet just because it bullet points all the important
Yes,
things
100%.
about,
Which you can go over if you'd like right now. That way we have everything on the field.
Is that our boy Hunter?
Yeah.
So starting with the most important piece for you guys. Well, actually, I'll include me in that because regardless, I get to enjoy pizza too. So
Yes.
it didn't matter
That's
who
true.
won. It didn't matter who won. I was going to enjoy pizza regardless.
Pizza by association.
Suck it, Dylan.
Not 2019.
Boom.
Ray tracing support. For those of you who haven't seen, I guess, previous episodes where we've talked about ray tracing being
Yep.
built in, that kind of thing. Ray tracing is how light is projected and how that gets displayed on your screen. Super nice for reflections and all that stuff to make them very accurate, which is really cool to see.
Gonna make
especially on consoles.
especially with like amped up particle systems and like all the things you get. Oh, my god, it's gonna look so
Yeah,
good.
it's
Stuff
gonna
that's
look pretty.
beautiful.
It'll look amazing. Solid state hard drives, super fast load times, awesome. I can't wait to see that. That's great that's going to be a standard piece. CPU is going to be an AMD Ryzen 3rd Gen 8-core processor. I'm curious to know what the clock speed is, but the fact that they're going with sort of a like latest gen 8-core,
Yeah.
like no kidding processor, like super cool running, very power efficient.
Yep.
I'm on par with it. I like it. Custom Radeon Navi chip. Now that's interesting to me
Why is that?
because it's a custom chip.
Okay. Why?
Now, don't get me wrong. There's going to be tons of these units sold.
Yeah.
But the problem with a custom chip is that you don't have anything to particularly compare it to or understand, I guess, how it's going to stack up.
So when you say
I guess
custom
with
chip, are
certain
you talking
names.
about in-house, or is this just a custom chip made by a third party?
AMD is making a custom chip
Correct.
for
Okay.
Sony.
Yeah. Which I could be wrong, but I think they did something similar for PS4 and Xbox One.
Well, but it was I guess it's a Navi chip, but it was based on a particular desktop graphics model. Though.
Yes. Yes, it
So,
was.
like, the idea was they took a baseline and said whatever ones get binned like this.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you who don't know what the binning process is, there's nice videos on YouTube that explain like what a binning process is for
After
processors
this
and graphics
one.
chips. Yeah, after this. But a custom chip to me seems interesting just because off the bat we don't really have a whole lot to compare it against.
Correct.
All right, so 3D audio, which means that they're probably going to... So to me, this would be great if they decide to go with a particular standard like DTS.
Yeah.
Or what's the latest one that just came up?
DTS.
So
Dolby something sound.
yeah, I want to touch on this point because Mark Cerny specifically in the article, we're going to go over all of these points in a minute, but he specifically pinpointed this as the one he's the most excited about because going from PS2 to PS3 and then PS3 to PS4, you got to see these graphical leaps
Yeah.
and the processing power got to increase and you really got to see these things, but sound really didn't change all that much. It didn't become too sexy. And this is finally where they get to the chance to really play and change how sound interacts in gaming. And that alone has me excited because Mark Cerny, if you do not know, is a engineer at Sony. He has been an engineer at Sony for the past 20 years. He is the architect of the PS4, seemingly the architect of the PS5.
Yeah.
The dude is super smart. And I'm talking super smart. He knows his stuff. So when he starts talking about his excitement level of the audio coming off of
Yeah.
the system, I cannot wait.
Which I can't wait to see the difference, like we saw with that Spider-Man vid, and seeing the difference in sound as well.
Oh,
Right,
man.
that would be cool.
So I actually got it mixed up. DTS is the old system. Atmos is the new one.
There you go.
So Atmos. ATMOS.
Atmos.
So if they can implement that, or if they have their own 3D sound system that's anywhere close to that, basically what happens is the audio system draws a space, and you place those speakers in that space. Now, there's standard configurations for like 5.1 surround sound systems with
Yeah.
a subwoofer, a center speaker, 2 corner or 4 corners, that kind of thing, or 2.1 or headphones or whatever it is. But the idea is that the noise actually gets triggered from that location in the space based on a certain volume or decibel range to emulate how it would actually sound if you were placed dead center in the middle of that space.
Yeah.
So the idea is that you're the reference point dead smack in the middle here, and the sound gets placed here. But that's actually how they input it from the game engine to make it happen, and the engine for the audio will process this speaker gets a little bit of this speaker gets a little bit of this speaker gets a little bit of this. It's up here, so we need to emulate that it's up, or we need to emulate that it's down, or it's happening right on top of you, so we need to surround with it. Like it really...
Sounds like a VR freaking wet dream.
So
Right.
for the longest time, the way sound has worked in games is which you would come across like a trigger of some sort. You trip over an invisible box, and the sound would play, but they would just adjust the volume because the sound is basically attached to the camera.
Yeah.
So that speaker's basically just right there, and they just play with it in order to
Right.
make it sound appropriately. Whereas now, literally,
Right.
there's going to be essentially a microphone attached to the camera, and then the audio is coming from all these different objects in the field.
Well, yeah, it's more of like the microphones are where the speakers would
Yeah.
be placed in that
Yeah.
3D space. So the cool thing about that is like depending on the granularity of control, you can actually move those speakers around in that 3D space, and it will move the microphones around in the game and will change the way that the audio sounds for different speakers. So if you have, like, let's say a non-standard rectangular room, so your speakers are really wide setup or a really narrow setup, if they allow for that granularity of control, you can literally just move the virtual microphones in-game closer together, so it knows if, like, a sound needs to come from the right side, okay, so it's closer together, not farther away. So we don't need to play it so loud from one side to the other to make it sound like you're in that environment.
That's so cool.
Fun fact of the day, Atmos is actually a summon in the Final Fantasy franchise.
Interesting.
Moving on.
PSVR current headset compatible. So your existing PSVR headsets will still apply to the PS5.
I was mentioning notes on this. We're going through it.
I can't wait.
One of my favorites, because I always love seeing this next advancement with resolution tech, 8K graphics support.
Yeah. 4K and 8K. Yeah.
8K televisions are here. 8K needs to be a thing on consoles.
There you go.
8K?
Plain and simple. 8K.
Who has an 8K TV?
I mean, I'm buying one tomorrow.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Really?
No. God, no.
Do you have any idea how much 8K televisions cost
I was
right now?
about to say, I was like, that's going to be super expensive.
Couple grand.
Yeah.
Easy.
That goes to a down payment on a home.
Yeah. I was going to say, and unless you got like a 65-inch television, doesn't
Not
make
worth
sense
it,
anyway.
Yeah.
Digital and physical game support.
Yep. Who'd have thought?
Yeah.
I mean, I really didn't think physical was going to be a thing anymore, but
Hey, I'm all for it
I am too.
as a collector.
now they didn't specify that it was going to be Blu-ray.
I know.
So I'm curious.
I am curious too. I think the Blu-ray will still be the
USB.
case. That would be hilarious. I would die.
Like, literally, it's just a bunch of
You think
USB
it's going to
keys.
be a, like, their own type
No,
of disc?
no,
like they
it's-
did with Blu-ray originally?
No, I don't think there's any.
Like the PS2 black
Well,
disc?
hold on, let's. Is that the end of it? Is that the end
No,
of
the
our
last
list?
one is backward compatible with PS4 games.
Super important.
Yep,
Yes.
absolutely.
Super important.
Probably the best part.
We'll start with the medium because that's where we're. All right. So
The next clip's literally the one of what's his name, Jonas? No, I don't remember. Scene from Get Him to the Greek or whatever. Where he's
yeah.
Oh,
Jonah Hill.
Jonah Hill. That's it.
It's like Jonas Brothers, huh?
So Sony made Blu-rays as a means to like essentially make high definition television and movies available, and they put PS3 games on them. One, because you could put it all on one disc, and two, to push the Blu-ray platform forward.
Yeah.
We're now in a digital age when it comes to the video like HD medium. I don't see them trying to push another physical medium to make movies that work.
Well, I wonder if
Disc
they're going to have to in order to support the amount of data it's going to have to hold.
Not necessarily, because there's a lot of room on a Blu-ray disc.
Yeah.
It's like 20 gigs.
It's enough.
Well, for smaller games, yeah. I mean, but like anything anything AAA, like big name.
They're all
modern,
just
modern
downloaded straight
games,
to the
like-
hard drive.
Right.
Yeah.
But see, that's the thing. Like, first off, any kind of physical medium like that is immediately going to become pointless because that solid state drive is going to outperform anything
Yeah.
you have anyway.
Yeah.
Like, have even a flash drive, unless it's like USB 3.2 or 3.1 Gen 3 or something
Yeah.
like that with a Type C interface. Like, unless you've got that stupid fast, like USB interface for that, it's going to be completely pointless anyway.
Yeah.
Like at that point, you may as well literally only go to a digital medium.
Correct. I do think that they talk about the PlayStation 4 being backwards compatible, like it being backwards compatible with PS4, because it's built on the architecture of PS4. And then the current gen VR headset working with it. I don't necessarily think this means that there's not going to be a new headset. They're not supporting VR, all that other stuff. I think this is just Sony telling everybody, like, hey,
Your
the sales have been
existing
great.
stuff will work, yeah.
If you want to buy more, you just keep going. Like, you're good moving forward.
It's a completely interchangeable, like the console itself becomes a completely interchangeable component.
Correct.
Just like your controllers or your
Yeah.
headset or your television or whatever.
Based on these specs, do you think it's possible for them to have a wireless VR headset?
So that's entirely going to be based on how they do the motherboard.
yeah.
That's more going to be based on processing power. All seems like it's there as long as clock speeds are okay. From a graphics performance standpoint, PSVR is already a thing, and they're going to upgrade the chip, so you're not going to have any issues there. You actually might get access to some better games on PSVR, which tremendous. I mean, which would be great if you can
Oh
play
my God, yeah.
some AAA titles, if it can handle the dual render like that. But a completely wireless headset, I mean, first off, the biggest barrier is going to be the headset itself, not necessarily the console.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would say that would be a neat feature. Honestly, the coolest thing that
A
I
neat
would...
feature. I think you'd see people clamoring for it personally.
so a lot of people, don't get me wrong, the cable does get in the way, but most of the time you can kind of minimize that impact anyway as far as that goes.
Yeah.
But the interesting feature to me, like, because if wireless headsets are kind of a thing, especially if that's something that PlayStation or Sony decides to push for here, is to have a wireless module already built into the console.
Yeah.
So you only have to buy the headset.
That's what I'm hoping for.
So the idea is it's already got a high-speed bus interface against the motherboard there, so any kind of like dual renderer and all that stuff, it's direct, it's quick, you don't have to worry about it, that kind of thing. Like it could even almost take the place of your television to some extent. That would be really neat, you know, like that kind of stuff like that. Anyway, would be kind of neat to see if they could build it into the console instead of making it something else that you attach.
And I wouldn't mind a higher price point personally.
Yes.
If I could actually get a wireless headset to do that.
And I think that's where they're going here. I think the whole point
For the
is
headset of the console.
Both.
Okay, because I don't think they'd try to push for a higher price console necessarily.
no, yeah, the headset will
because
be,
they want to be able to appeal to all markets.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't care
they'll,
about VR.
they'll run a separate GPU.
I'm not saying it's going to be like
headset.
massive, but it is going to be more expensive if they do it that way.
What do you mean?
It's going to be more hardware, so it's going to be more expensive than if it was just a wireless hookup with
Not
a box.
necessarily. The higher performing hardware that's in it already has already gotten cheap enough to match whatever it was whenever the PS4
okay.
released.
Yeah.
That's
so
awesome.
that's how tech cycles. Is the new stuff comes out, it's super overpriced, and then the price tanks literally as soon as the next generation comes out.
No wonder you guys have such a short attention span.
What I really want to think is interesting is I truly think that's what they're going for. I think the current gen headset is just going to continue going forward.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to get rid of it for quite some time. Nope. That's going to be their cheaper model. Eventually, it's going to get priced at $100, so you can buy it. They'll have new wands, which all interact with the system, so it won't matter. But they're going to get a nicer, beefier, beautiful-looking headset that hopefully is wireless. I mean, that's where everybody's pushing for with the next gen VR. It makes the most sense to me.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about the solid state drive because it is weird to talk about why this is the sexiest feature until you've seen the video, which I don't think you have.
No.
Oh,
So,
wow.
Mark Cerny ran some tests
want
with
to pull it
Wired.
up
You can pull it out for him while I talk to discuss to showcase the difference in loading times with the solid state drive compared to the PS4 Pro.
yeah.
So he showcased Spider-Man fast travel and PS4 Pro. It takes about 15 seconds just to pick a spot on the map and move to it.
PS4 Pro.
For a PS4 Pro, 15 seconds. And that is from literally we're talking about you're opening up the map, you're selecting a point, you then travel, you're then on the map. For the solid state drive on the prototype, it was 0.8 seconds.
Okay, so that answers my question of what kind of solid state, because PS4 Pro does have a solid state drive, but it's a SATA solid state drive.
Correct.
The new one is an NVMe solid state drive. Then the PS5's got an NVMe solid state drive then, because the throughput and the response times are going to be that much faster and that much bigger. 100% that's what you're going with.
Yeah.
Or they're going the Apple route and doing some custom integration solution.
Well, and he even said specifically, you can take a solid state drive and put it in a PS4 Pro today, and it's going to be faster. It's not going to come even anywhere close to what we're talking about here.
Because if they're going, because I mean, storage engine standards, like NVMe, for example, has a theoretical cap, I think, at somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 gigabytes or something like that, that kind of thing. Now, that's way down the line. We haven't even reached the processing power to be able to match that yet. So far, the quickest speeds you'll see, actually, I've got it on my desktop downstairs, the 970 Pro from Samsung. I think I shoveled data out at 2 gigabytes per second out of the hard drive.
Jesus.
Or 1.5 gigabytes per second, that kind of thing. Stupid fast times, to the point that I hit the power button and 5 seconds later,
not want that.
5 seconds later, I'm staring at my desktop.
Yeah.
Insane speeds, that kind of thing. So seeing that on a console,
Yeah.
super awesome. Just especially for open world games like that would need that quick load and response time.
Their whole goal, according to Cerny, is PS5 is not going to load. That's the whole point. There will not be load times.
And watching that video again, I was just like, man, it's so fast. That it's gonna save. You think about all, yeah. It is just jaw-dropping level.
We'll make sure we have it in the description above us. That way, you have the capability of watching it yourself.
Below us. I did it for you.
It's amazing. That's really cool.
Yeah.
But
Think
storage
about how
time.
many times you're in a load screen though. Imagine how much time you could. You probably actually save a whole hour. If you do a lot of fast travel in a game, you could probably easily save an hour's worth of time in the midst of playing a game.
So
that's impressive to me. Consoles are finally catching up.
Yep.
Upgraded hardware, storage finally needed to happen. PCs happened to first. Phones came second. It's about time the next generation consoles came around. They decided they were going to upgrade. everything.
I agree 100%. And I mean, we went through a couple of other points. I think they're mostly self-explanatory unless there's something that jumped out that you want to talk about.
The lack of a price point.
Well, we have till 2020.
I know.
This definitely seemed to me like Sony was, hey, everyone else is throwing down their gauntlet. We're telling you just calm down. We'll be out in 2020. We'll discuss more then.
What's the Pro price point right now?
So the Pro's priced at 400, 450?
Yeah. 350, 400 now, I think.
I think it's 400, and I think the regular is 350.
Interesting. Okay. All right. So I'll price this probably around like the $500 to $600 range.
Yeah.
I will say probably different levels.
Yeah.
Depending on the type of hardware you want to have in it.
I don't think they're going to be
Not
that.
just storage
I think
size.
it's going to be
Like the amount of-
it's going to be a one-shot deal.
I think so too.
Really?
I
Yeah.
think so. Yeah.
I could see them going with like different RAM specs, maybe an upgraded processor.
I think
Obviously,
as an
different storage
add-on-
sizes is a
Yeah.
big thing. You know, like
Well, they did it with the PS4 with the add-ons. Well, they had the add-on hard drive that you could put on, stuff like that. I think they'll give you the customizability that you're going to want later on down the road.
Right.
But the way
God,
that
if
these
you
specs
customize
are,
the
I don't
RAM
think
in
you're
that-
going to need it, though.
oh, if you could swap out your own RAM, that would be amazing.
I do find this interesting because Sony's approach is completely different than everyone else.
Yeah.
Everyone's going streaming. Nintendo's doing their thing. They got a VR that you hold up to your head with the Switch itself. But like Sony's just like, no, we're going to stay consistent. We're good at this. We're just going to beef it up and make it easier for the player. Now, this can be incredibly successful, but it hinges entirely on what else, like the add-on, if you
Right.
will. So, do they have a fleshed out actual PlayStation ecosystem? Because they started that this time, where we have friends lists and we have trophy lists. We have all these things. They have communities now where you can actually go on your PlayStation and build communities around games where it's a giant message board to talk. They have the ability for you to do tournaments through the PlayStation now. They have a mobile app that you can go on and talk to your friends. Like all these things are there, but they're just a step too disconnected.
Yeah.
They're doing all the things I feel like Microsoft should have done with the Xbox.
Correct.
Instead of trying to make it a media center box.
Yes.
They should have made it a social platform.
Yes. And I think Sony has the capability of doing that here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what we talked about with the VR version of like
Home.
PlayStation at home. Oh my God. You will win so much monies. It'd be great.
I also think that though they bought Gaikai a while back and they've kind of sputtered with PlayStation Now,
I feel like they squandered it a little bit.
I do think that if they come out and go, guess what, with your PlayStation Plus subscription, you also have access to Now and you have these titles available to you. We've increased the price by $10 roughly for everyone, but that includes now this streaming service and it's going to include PS5 games. I think they have the gauntlet right there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you
100%.
have the solid state that has no load times. If your internet goes down, you can still play your games. Like, all right there in your living room. And then when you're gone, you're like, well, you know what? I'm just going to play Uncharted. And you're on your phone. Like,
See, the best part is they're playing this still strategically.
oh, absolutely.
I mean, Xbox has pretty much played their hand. There's been a lot of leaks. There's been
We have-
a lot of talk with Stadia right now, and they're getting their feelings out. But they had to release a lot more information to get people on board. They're like, here's a taste.
Yeah.
And you're already satisfied enough that when I actually put down the surprises that you weren't expecting, like possibly a wireless VR headset capability,
that'd be so
or something else that is going to get everybody else's attention, they're just going to drop that bomb. I mean, it's probably going to be, I would say, probably close to the E3 time they're going to mention it.
No.
Or
No,
talk
this
again
year?
about it.
This year? No.
They're going to say something.
Nope.
They have to. They're not going to let them get all that attention on the internet and not say
So
something.
they will talk about the rest of the PS4 library, and they'll continue to talk about the rest of the PS4 library until February next year when they send out their nice lit invites and they rent out, a stadium in New York like they did for PS4, and they're going to invite everybody up and they go, here's PS5.
I just think you're going to hear something. I'm not going to say you're going to get much.
I think this was it. I think this is
Really?
it for the year.
We'll
I
find
think
out.
the whole point was like, everyone else. Here's what we're working on. See you next year.
Well, I mean, with their platform now, they have the PlayStation. What is it? Play or with their little
State of Play.
State of Play. I foresee them just kind of giving quips here and there. Nothing
Absolutely not. No, that is entirely for game announcements and nothing else.
crazy. Okay.
If they're going to talk about PlayStation 5 again, it's going to be with a person doing something like this Mark Cerny article. It's going to be like, this is the most.
I'm
we're
actually
gonna get.
surprised they did it that way in general,
I-
which is why I feel this way.
When I opened up Twitter that morning and I was like, what's going on? They just announced PlayStation 5 through a Wired article?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Exactly. That's how I
What
felt.
is
I'm like, if they're going to do that and talk about, and it's not even technically called PlayStation 5. They haven't
No,
admitted
yeah,
that.
they haven't given it a name yet.
But that's what we're calling it for
Yeah.
the sake of argument. But the fact that they're willing to do that, I think that they're going to do it differently this time. Normally, I believe you. February, they're going to knock it out. Boom. They
Should we do a second pizza bet?
Oh,
I'm confident.
I'm
But you're
enjoying
not
this
going to
being
hear
a
it
third
between
party.
now and February on an official level.
Correct.
From an official person from
Correct.
Sony.
Yes.
You will not hear another thing come out of the PS5.
I will say from now until 2020.
That's fair enough. I'll give you that. How many pizzas?
One pizza. What are you talking about? Pizzas.
I just want to make sure
saw
I'm not
here,
getting
folks.
myself into
So the question is,
Witness.
what happens if they announce it before the end of the year?
Then I buy a pizza.
Because
Yeah.
right now the only bridge between you guys is January and February. He said until February there's no announcement. You said until 2020 there's no announcement.
Well, he
So-
modified the agreement of me saying to February,
Yeah, yeah.
saying until
Okay,
January.
He says they're going to say something in 2019. I say they won't say anything again until 2020.
Yep.
But that is what we know so far. I personally am excited of the potential. I am very aware that this is baby steps, but the potential
I'm
is
just excited for pizza.
He just is a pizza by association.
But let us know what you think in the comments to
Below.
the right
Below.
of John.
Below.
I love doing this. What your thoughts are on the PlayStation 5 or whatever it shall be dubbed. Is it too early? Are you excited? Could you care less? Are you excited about Stadia? Let us know. But I think
Tell
we
us
all know
what
what
you
time
want
it is.
out of it.
Yeah, actually, that's a great. What is it? What is the number one feature you want?
I want wireless VR headset. What do you want?
You stole mine. I want an actual.
Well, we did talk about it at length.
I know. I actually do want like PlayStation Now to be included in PlayStation Plus and be
Yeah.
a thing.
Especially after losing the Vita and the PS3.
Yeah, like I want it to
100%.
be something that is available to users on a regular basis because it feels so sectioned off right now. I would use that service way more if I could just have it rolled in, or I could pay another subscription like together where it's like, hey,
Yeah.
you have PlayStation Plus Platinum, and I pay $20 extra a year. I would do that because I may not use it every month, but there will definitely be a month where I'm like, I want to play this game, or I just want to go check this game out for a minute.
Yep. Like, I'm
100%.
curious to see what that is. Like, we talk about, like, oh, you know what? You never got to play Borderlands 2. Check
Yep,
it out.
There you go. So let us know what you want. Do you have a want? I know you don't have a PlayStation guy, so
Well, I mean, he does like Battlefield, so. Sorry.
Battlefield exclusive on PlayStation 5.
Well, I mean,
I'd be pissed.
that game would be pretty on that. I mean, their graphics level is pretty sweet.
I'm just saying my desktop graphics still probably outperform
of
whatever
course
the
they will.
PS5's going to have. Come
Well,
on.
especially in like a year. Look at me. 6 months. Anyways, do you have an ask? A want? No? You can say no.
No, I can't talk snap, man. This man just gave us the lowdown on every spec in his freaking console.
That's why we
so
waited
far.
for him.
So, I mean, NVMe is definitely already a thing, and that's going to be awesome. You know what, John, I'll piggyback off your idea here. Truly wireless headsets. I think if anybody can make it happen quickly and bring it to market super fast, I think PlayStation can make it happen. Just because I feel like PSVR is taking off
100%.
much faster than the funds would be available for Oculus or HTC.
Agreed.
to make
They've
happen.
got the connections, they've got the ability and the drive to do it because they know if
the
they
money.
don't, they're going to get drowned. They
Most
have to
important-
have something to bring them
most
in.
importantly the money. But
Also, a less greedy ask, just better freaking VR controllers.
Oh God, yeah, 100%. I don't know which one I would want more, but
And now it's time for the final part of the show.
last call.
You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. We do have a few shout outs, nothing crazy major, but you saw her crazy major. You saw her on last week's episode. Queen Crystal is spinning up season 2 of Strange Challenge, so please make sure you are checking on the channel to keep up to date with that. The hostess with the mostest will keep you informed. Also, our boy Xphobia is streaming every day, at least once, if not twice, or sometimes even 3 times. He is on at strange hours sometimes.
Seriously.
Yeah. So it kind of blows my mind when I get
Strange hours?
Yeah, it's 11 a.m. Xphobia's on. So make sure you're subscribed to those notifications. If you're not part of our Discord, you can get the notifications through that.
Give me another riff on this one. You got to give me another riff on this next one.
Oh, B, Scotch, and Dots. You totally
yeah,
put on the spot.
on
Like,
the spot.
why is he wet? He's not sweating. I just love that. Our boy B Scotch and Dots, he is, of course, not a part of Strange Gaming Network, but we love him so much. He is streaming Sekiro along with Dark Souls 3. Please hit him up on Twitch as well.
I'd be expecting to see him playing some critical.
Oh, he will probably be playing Critical Mode Kingdom
Yeah.
Hearts 3 as it comes out tomorrow. Also, moving on to our last question of the week. We were talking about the Game Boy anniversary, so I wanted to ask you all, what is your favorite Game Boy memory?
Oh man, does it have to be regular Game Boy? Or can it be big Game Boy Color?
I'll allow it.
You'll allow it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It should be a regular Game Boy.
I'm
but
gonna go with regular Game Boy. I should. Right.
I've got mine if you guys need time.
Oh, I don't need time.
I'm good. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Mine was the realization.
Punished for saying Game Boy Color. Go ahead.
But mine should be a Game Boy
Sorry, but
Color
it was
one,
super
too.
God
important.
damn it, Mark.
I did. Okay, so
Go ahead.
I didn't have an OG Game Boy. My dad had one,
Yeah.
and we didn't find it until after both my sister and I had our own colors.
Hashtag the brick.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, the old school gray pick.
God, you
bit up the
you
couch.
could kill a man with that thing.
First off, I had the most expensive badass Game Boy Color. I had the clear purple one.
I love the clear purple one. I
Like
had
my
it too.
parents went way above and beyond to go get me one of those.
Clear purple's the
It was
best.
fantastic. But I had like a little bag that I would keep all of my accessories in.
Yeah.
And I remember at like, elementary school age realizing I have way too many accessories. I had a transfer cable between multiple, but it had like 3 different ends on it, so you could plug it into different types of, like Game Boy consoles. Then I had like the little in the same plug-in port. I had one of those little flex lights or whatever that would pop over.
Was it
the
the
top of it.
green glob one? 'Cause
Mine
that's
was,
the one
mine
I
was-
had.
well, mine was purple to match mine.
Oh man, I had a green glob
Never had
one.
one
that
of
was.
those.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Then I had like the full-on, no kidding, over the top, like you could slide it over the Game Boy thing and slide it out, and it had like a magnifying
Yep.
glass thing.
That I did
Then
have.
the fold-out speakers and the light that would project down on top of
Jesus,
it.
boy.
Oh, it was over the top. It was
I
ridiculous.
didn't know they made that.
Yep. And you just plug it in the side where the little power port was. It had to have its own AAA batteries for
Yeah.
the to be able to power the speakers and all that stuff. And then it had a little headphone thing so you could actually plug in the headphone port on the Game Boy Color. So you had like amplified speakers and light and a magnifying glass. It was ridiculous.
I did love the magnifying glass light.
And then I also had the camera game.
Oh yeah.
Like the one where you could pivot the camera back and
Yep.
forth or whatever, and you could take pictures of things and add like funny, crazy effects and whatnot or whatever. And
Yeah.
then
You could print them out.
I didn't have the printer attachment.
Oh,
but,
wow. I'm sorry. You're missing an attachment, sir.
But it was cool to be able to like take the pictures and save them.
Yeah,
That kind of
that's
thing,
really
and, like,
cool.
goofy stickers on them and whatnot.
That is awesome. I'm a big fan. What about you?
I can't remember exactly what it was called, but it was a Wario game.
Okay, yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, that's where like the boss level stuff like got me into loving platforming and games. In truth, because this was before I was really into Mario.
Yeah.
Because I never owned a brick myself. It was always me going to someone else's house. I'm like, I'm gonna play your Game Boy. Why did you come over here to play your Game Boy? Yeah, no kidding. Same thing happened with the N64. My friend's like, you just come over here and play my N64. I'm like, yeah, I know. But I don't know why, but like it just sticks out to me more than everything. I remember the little clown, the Jack in the Box clowns that came
Yeah.
out, and I remember them being such a pain in the ass. But it was fun. Like I enjoyed the challenge, and that's what actually got me kind of like interested in the platforming realm a little bit, like on the base end. Like I
Yeah.
wasn't like hardcore into that game. I just remember solely playing that game and loving it.
Yeah. God, that's good. When I was a young warthog, my parents divorced. I was roughly 2. So right around the time I was 4 or 5, my father met the woman that he is still married to today. And they had started dating. He had just recently moved here to Charlotte. He had opened a brand new restaurant and finally decided that he wanted to introduce her to us. And so we went over. We met somewhere else, and I can't quite remember where. But the memory I have is we went to her apartment, and in her apartment she had a Super Nintendo and a Game Boy, the original Game Boy. And
You must have looked at your dad to like marry her now.
she gave us the Super Nintendo and all the games, and the Game Boy and all the games.
She bribed the hell out of you.
Yes, she did. So Adam, my brother, used to play Mario all the time because he had the Mario Land on there. Mario Land 2, actually, because it's the 6 stars or the 6 coins or whatever, not the original one. And then I used to play Link's Awakening. It was the first Zelda game I actually ever played.
Wow.
And I used to play it, but I didn't know how to save. So I would play an hour of the game, and then I'd turn it back on and be like, I just didn't beat it. I gotta get back. Not realizing that you could save the game. But I played the hell out of that thing. It
I'm
took
sure she looked at you and go like, oh, that was a waste of time.
4 AA batteries in order to power that thing. And then
Yeah.
eventually the Color came out and Pokemon came out, and that sealed my fate for handheld gaming. So
Yeah, it's funny because Mom got me the N60 or the SNES when I was growing
Yeah.
up. That was my first major console, but then she got me the Game Gear. Like
That's
total
because-
switch up, but I loved it. It was a colored screen.
Sega.
Yeah, exactly. Massive, just D batteries. There was like
It was like
6 of them.
fucking
It was.
D
You want to talk
batteries.
about a brick? You could murder a grown adult with that as a child.
you could
God.
sink a sub with that thing if you throw it hard enough.
Oh my
Just
God.
go right through that
But you know
steel.
what? Like, just prove like it got beat up a lot. Like you duct tape that thing, electrical tape,
yeah.
that thing would not die.
Yeah, absolutely. But let us know what your favorite Game Boy memories are. If you don't have a Game Boy, you should go to our news
Comments
story,
below.
grab the Game Boy emulator, make your own
There you
Game
go.
Boy game, and
Yes.
then tell us your freaking memory that way.
If you really want to get fancy, let us know. We'll give you like a PO box, and you can mail us the little cartridge, and we can have some fun.
Or you
with that kind of
could
thing.
let us know and we'll get the ROM from you and we'll play it that way. Probably easy. But I would love to have it. Yeah, it'd be great. Let us know, of course, in the comments below. And until next time, we love you. Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, we're all empty. Look at this.
It was delicious.
Yeah, it was very good. And I know you're hoarding some back there.